Josh Paunil over at PhillyMag.com. Birds 24/7, where these guys have the Eagles covered morning, noon, night, overnight, and he joins us now on the Sports Batch 97.3 ESPN. Josh, welcome back, pal.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
You got it, man. And, hey, first game, we know this seems like it's a good matchup here, but why do I get the feeling that some people are nervous to play Cleveland? I mean, this Cleveland team, many people think, somebody commented yesterday, I think Brian Billick, that they could go 0-16. Why do we get the feeling that Eagles fans think that this game's scary?
Well, a big part of it is just the unknown. I mean, first of all, on the offensive side of the ball, you have Carson Wentz. Even though he's a guy that, in the limited time we've seen him in an Eagles uniform, whether it's in training camp or a little bit in the preseason, he's shown the flashes of potential, the big arm he has, plays he can make. But this is still his first NFL game. I mean, it's very realistic for him to throw multiple interceptions because he just doesn't have much experience under his belt. He's an aggressive guy. He's going to want to sling the ball down the field, so he could turn the ball over a couple of times. And then when you look on the opposite side of the ball, is RG3 a guy that's going to scare you across the whole season? No. But in terms of this is going to be the first time you see him in Hugh Jackson's offense, RG3 could have one big game. I mean, is he going to last all season with how injury-prone he can be? Probably not, but the Eagles are playing him in week one, and it's possible that RG3 has one big game on the ground, especially when it can be tough to prepare for. Now, obviously, it's the same with the Eagles, with Jim Schwartz as the new defensive coordinator, Doug Peterson is the new offensive play caller, but the unknown can be scary sometimes.
It's interesting that you say the unknown, Josh, because the last time there was a fear of the unknown was when Chip Kelly was hired. We had no idea what that team was going to look like, and they went out and waxed Washington on Monday Night Football. Do you think that something similar, do you anticipate that – my question really becomes, do you anticipate that the Eagles have things that we may not have had any idea they're about to throw at Cleveland, or do you think what we saw in the preseason is pretty much what Doug Peterson has up his sleeve?
Well, what we saw in the preseason is just the simplest form of what Doug Peterson is going to roll out. One thing that I don't think people quite give enough credit to him for. Now, I have no idea, if he's going to be a great head coach for the Eagles, if he's going to flame out early. But what I am confident in is that he's much more creative as a play caller than people give him credit for. So I do think that people will be a bit surprised based on what they see from the offense. Now, because it is the first game of the season, you don't want to put too much on Carson Wentz's plate. Maybe, you don't see Doug Peterson pull out all of the bells and whistles. But I do think there will be some things in there that surprise people. Even simple things, the jet sweep to Josh up in the preseason, that probably wasn't something that people were expecting to see. So you might just see smaller plays like that that maybe you wouldn't anticipate because you think he's an old school coach. But he actually has a lot of new school principles in his scheme.
Josh Paunil, PhillyMag.com, Birds 24/7. I want to ask you about this. You just mentioned some things up their sleeve, jet stuff. Do they have the personnel? Is their personnel, especially at wide receiver, better than it was last year? Are they more equipped to do more explosive things than they were last year? Because even if you don't love the receivers, all right, they have the drops. They're not Riley Cooper. They're not Miles Austin. Do they have more big play potential than they had last year?
Well, the answer is absolutely yes, and it's because of one person in particular, Dorial Green-Beckham, the big play ability that he gives you. People give him a lot of credit in the red zone on those fade passes, those jump balls, just throw it up there, and he'll go get it, especially against shorter corners, which, by the way, Cleveland has. I think their tallest corner is maybe 5'11", 6 feet, so that's something to keep an eye on in Cleveland. But outside of the red zone, Dorial Green-Beckham, he led all rookie receivers last season in yards per catch. So he can do some things, not just after the catch, but run down the field, create some separation. Now, obviously, there's still the same concerns that people had at Tennessee. How good is his route running going to be in all of his routes? Will the consistency be there? And then also, because he's so new to Doug Peterson's scheme, how much of the playbook can they really open up to him? But I do think you'll see him play a lot this weekend. And obviously, as the season progresses, I think you'll see his role only increase because, as you said, the Eagles don't have much of a receiver, but Dorial Green-Beckham can give you that big play potential.
Josh Paunil with us from PhillyMag.com, Birds 24/7. And Josh, Philadelphia no stranger to RG3. He's got 5 starts in his career against the Eagles, a 98.3 passer rating. But what have the Eagles said is the key to stopping RG3, and how do they shut him down on Sunday?
Yeah, well, there are really 2 big things when you want to stop RG3. The first thing is just the deep ball. I mean, he's a guy that, even though there are question marks about how good is his accuracy going to be on an every down basis, how well can he read the defenses, if you give him time in the pocket, he can throw the ball very well down the field. And so that's one of the things that the Eagles are putting a big emphasis on, is let's not let him beat us over the top. And fortunately for the Birds, even though cornerback is obviously a question mark, what do they have there in Leotis McKelvin and Nolan Carroll as the 2 outside starters? You have one of the better safety tandems in the league, and Rodney McLeod and Malcolm Jenkins. And then the second thing that you focus on with RG3 is obviously his running ability, particularly with the zone read option game. You really want to make sure that you can't give up those big plays. I mean, if RG3 keeps the ball and gets 5 or 6 yards, obviously you don't want them to have second or third and short, but you can live with that. What you don't want is just to bust those types of plays loose, because he's probably not going to move the ball on you consistently. I think that's the only way this Cleveland offense has success against Philadelphia, is if they can just generate those big plays. I would be surprised if they can just get first down after first down. So just a big play over the top of the defense in the passing game. But again, the running ability, not necessarily just in scrambling, but specifically the read option designed to run.
Real quick, by the way, before Pete, you asked your question, it's ironic that you mentioned fear of unknown. Robert Griffin III, that Chip Kelly first night, they face
RG3.
Robert Griffin III.
Hey, Josh,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I mean, the same thing actually applies to the Eagles, not just in terms of the unknown, but the read option. I mean, that's something that you'll see with Carson Wentz. I'm not sure how much in game 1, but definitely throughout this season, you're going to see Carson Wentz in the zone reads and design some quarterback runs. Obviously, he's not the same type of runner as RG3, but you will see Carson Wentz run the ball.
What other weapons on the Browns, if you could call them that? Who else should Eagles fans be worried about that the Browns might be able to have some success with?
Yeah, well, a couple of guys, at wide receiver and tight end, Gary Barnidge and Terrell Pryor. Those are 2 guys that the Eagles have kind of identified, and the Browns even. The Browns have been open. Those are 2 guys, especially with Josh Gordon out for the first 4 games of the season. Gary Barnidge and Terrell Pryor. The guy, former Ohio State quarterback, converted to receiver in the NFL. But according to people in Cleveland, he's come along nicely as a receiver, can be that big play threat. So when we talk about you have to prevent RG3 from getting the ball down the field, Terrell Pryor is probably going to be that guy that the Browns try to go to stretch the field.
Josh Paunil, PhillyMag.com, Birds 24/7. If you're Philadelphia, Josh, and I know you get to see a lot of the All-22 and you watch a lot of this matchup stuff, where is there a spot that you think the Eagles can really exploit and take advantage of?
If I'm Fletcher Cox, I'm salivating for this game because the Browns center, Cam Irving, now he's an athletic guy, he's versatile, but he has only played 5 games at center in his career in college. That was just in college that he played 5 games at center. So he's very new to the position. And reports out of Cleveland say that he's having trouble just snapping the ball in shotgun. I mean, he's having to stay after practice every day to practice the shotgun snap because that's how new he is to the position, and he's having trouble with it. So if I'm Fletcher Cox, I'm thinking, okay, obviously he's not going to be lined up directly over the center much, but, maybe he'll shoot the A-gap between the center and the guard. Maybe you can just attack Cam Irving directly. But that's one thing that I'm really looking forward to seeing is how Jim Schwartz tries to exploit Fletcher Cox against the interior of this Browns offensive line, because Fletcher Cox could really give them headaches. Even if they double team him, it wouldn't really surprise me at all if he can beat the Browns double team.
Josh, give us your pick real fast. I know a lot of people are nervous, but are you?
I think it's a close game. I think it might even be 20-17, just because I'm not sure how much this offense will be able to score the ball. I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles can consistently move the ball down the field, but because you have a rookie quarterback, he could turn the ball over in key moments.
He's Josh Paunil, everybody. Birds 24/7 at PhillyMag.com for all the Eagles stuff with those guys to get ready for Sunday. Philadelphia and Cleveland right here on 97.3. Enjoy the game, Josh.
Thanks, Mike. You too.